Hello. Okay. We're back. Still in the middle of some physical body upgrades, so might cough through some of this, but hopefully we'll be able to get through at least some of our topics today. I want to get into evolving our consciousness, and I want to really kind of hone in on some of the misconceptions I see about ascension, misconceptions I see about what ascension really means and what its purpose really is. I feel like there's a lot of information out there that makes it seem like one thing, and there are reasons for that, but that's really not what it is. So I want to get into that today. So when we talk about ascension, and I see a lot of videos out that talk about, increase, improve your relationships, improve your financial status, improve your job through ascension. And it's kind of funny when I see that, because ascending your consciousness is removing those things from your life. Ascension does not improve your human-based realities. They're not, it's not meant to do that. It's not designed to do that. Ascending your consciousness and ascending your body's consciousness. So there's two things that go into play here. You ascend your consciousness, and then you ascend your body's consciousness. You do the higher conscious with the mind, and then the body goes with that. So the consciousness is kind of an air balloon, You ascend the consciousness, which is the balloon part, and the basket's kind of your body part, and you pull your body up. Then you go through things like this, where you're coughing and hacking and got digestive stuff going on, can have eye upgrades going on, where you just have a lot of physical body stuff, because the body was not designed to be able to hold all the higher consciousness, the light codes, all of the frequencies that are hitting the earth, that are unlocking all these codes in our body. It wasn't really designed to do that. That's not what the human body was kind of designed to do. So it takes a while for us to clear a lot of our human template and to reset, to get our new templates going, to start to rewrite our DNA. Those things take time. They're not this quick thing where it happens overnight. It takes a lot longer for these things to happen, because it has to rewrite our template and rewrite our DNA. So when we talk about, we've done a couple talks where we talked about how the template for the next year comes in. You'll start to usually see it. You'll see stuff clearing around the summer solstice, and usually around the Lion's Gate, 8/8, you'll start to, you might see or get different glimpses of what's coming in. And then, always toward the end of the year, I would get something like this, where I would have a lot of physical body stuff going on. And I didn't really connect it, which was I had anchored in the consciousness of the templates of what I was going to be doing next year, and the templates are going to match up to certain aspects I was going to be doing. The templates are going to have certain aspects that are going to activate those templates. Certain aspects are going to be sort of in charge of what we're doing for that year, until we eventually take those aspects and just meld them in to all of our other aspects. So it's all just one big, higher aspect, but they all kind of meld together. But each year you're going to have, in a lot of early years of ascension, you're going to have, and a lot of ascension years, you're going to have one aspect that kind of is sort of the leader. You might have a galactic aspect that's coming in one year. You might have an angelic aspect. You could have a archangel aspect. You could have warrior aspects coming in. You could have different things that are kind of leading the charge one year or the other. And when you start getting to those different aspects, sometimes I usually see them in my dream state, so I know what aspect is going to be, going to be kind of leading the charge for the year. I know what aspect I'm going to be working with, I'm going to be integrating into my body. And when we do that, our templates start to upgrade. But our template's kind of wired, that aspect is kind of wired into that template, right? So anywhere in our body where we're not living from that aspect, we're not embracing in that aspect. And these might have been things we worked on kind of the year before, and now we're going to actually have boots on the ground. We've kind of anchored in the conscious. Now we're going to start doing the conscious. We're going to make that reality so we're going to solidify it in. For our body to be in that template, for our body to be in that reality, we have to then anchor it in the body, which means where anything that's in the body, that's that old programming that we've worked through, anything on a DNA level has to clear, you know, and that's why you'll have a lot of this. Sometimes you'll have a lot of this stuff going on this time of year because we're clearing it. We're clearing it so we can go on to the next phase, the next year. So there is a reason, and there is a big connection in the. My cat always tries to turn on the oven. Get off of there. Go on, get off. Pause this for 1 minute. I'll be right back. Be right back. Okay. He's so ridiculous. I have to cover up the oven because if not, it cuts it on. And sometimes he can still cut on the bottom oven, so I have to watch him. Okay. So to get our template ready for the next year, we have to clear the stuff out of our physical body. So that's why a lot of us start having a lot of this physical stuff toward the end of the year. And even though there tends to be a linear year, you theme it by certain linear years, but that's not really the strongest push. You know, it's kind of out of time and space in a sense, where you'll feel the next year coming in August, which really, that feels like, oh, that's way too early, but we're kind of laying the groundwork. And then we start to feel it, some of it coming in. You might start doing some of the things you're going to be doing that year, start seeing glimpses of it, and then it might not really pick up or anchor in until March or April of the next year. And then you have all this stuff to complete, because you're also completing the stuff from the prior year that you didn't finish. So we're kind of always evolving those things. But when I see all this stuff about what Ascension will do to your human life, I'm going to tell you something, and it's the best kept secret of Ascension. Ascension ruins your human life. Ascension destroys your human life. Ascension takes your human life, balls it up, tosses it away. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. You have many years to get used to that cadence with Ascension and to understand that's what the purpose of it is. Now, for anyone who's really ingrained in their human existence in this moment, that's going to feel very scary. You know, that's going to feel like not what anybody wants to hear. I want to hear the sexy part where Ascension is going to enhance all these things. Ascension is not going to care about the job you have. It doesn't care about success, fame, money, human love. It doesn't care about any of those things. It completely is not what Ascension is. Ascension is ascending your conscious and your body to soul-aligned realities. Now, the key word there is soul-aligned realities. They're not human-aligned realities, which are the realities when you're in your human aspect and living from your human aspect. Predominantly what we do. Predominantly what we're doing all the time. You know, that is living from your human aspect. Those are not the realities that get saved. Okay, that's not the realities that get improved. But to get the human aspect kind of interested, it's kind of this, it's kind of like a bait and switch. It has to feel that it can enhance something, it can improve something, it can make something better by going through Ascension. Like if you do these things, all of a sudden these other parts in your life get better. They won't get better. We just lose our attachment to them, and we start to see that there's no improving it. You know, it's the old adage, you can put lipstick on the pig, but it's still going to be a pig. The reality is still a human reality, and they're distorted, and they're not happy, joyous realities. That's why the human's always looking for something else to do. You know, our human ego is like a little child, but not the divine divinity of the little child. It's more the little ego of the little child. It always wants the next thing. I want this, I want this, I want this. And we don't even know why we want it. We don't want any power. We want everyone else to tell us what to do. We don't even know what we want. We're just running around grabbing at everything. You know, humanity is one of the, everyone thinks that, you know, when we talk about, the ego is really the kindergartner in the room in a sense when you start getting into all of your higher aspects. I saw something today about UFOs again, because I listen to this weekly thing where they talk about it, and I like to see where the conversation goes, so I always listen to it. And they talk about, you know, how, you know, the different alien races and how impressed they would be or whatever by humans. And I was like, we are definitely, the human consciousness is the kindergartner in the room, okay? That's just how it is. It doesn't have the foresight. It doesn't understand. It's not able to put everything together. It just sees one thing, and that's what it wants, and that's what it's going to get. And when it gets that, it wants something else, and then it goes on to something else. There's no direction. It doesn't understand the karma it creates. It doesn't understand the loops it keeps putting itself in. It doesn't understand as long as it accepts disrespectful behavior and keeps calling in disrespectful behavior until we say, no, we're not going to take that anymore. You know, it keeps feeling like it's in the same loop. There's nowhere where getting a higher consciousness reality is going to tie back to any of your human ones. And every time I give this talk about this type of thing, I always feel like I'm talking to that person trying to make that work, and it's not working. Because I got looped into that for years, a couple years. Yeah, a couple years. I have to be honest about it. It was a couple years where I kept trying to make it work, or trying to make it look like I thought it was going to look. You know, Ascension, you know, a lot of times when you're in different parts of Ascension, you have no money. You're not sure what you're going to do next. Your old job either faded away, but you don't want to really go back into anything else because that doesn't really interest you. You want to kind of detach from all that stuff. That does not say you can't be in some of this stuff for a while. Some of this stuff you will be in for a while. It's not like all of a sudden, oh my gosh, one day you've ascended and everything goes away. It is a gradual process and an exiting of these realities for a reason. Because for a while we're put in where we might stay in that job. Because our job is, you can bring higher consciousness to any job and make it a better space for you, make it a better space for other people, activate other people. But there will come a time, I promise you, there will come a time when it's no longer, it's too much. Your frequency gets above that space and it's just now dragging you down. And you can just feel it. You can feel the weight on you. That doesn't mean in a day you're going to all of a sudden decide, okay, I can't be here anymore. You'll see that coming. You'll understand. Same thing with the relationships. Same thing with different friendships we have. We really don't have friends when you're in the higher consciousness realities because friends are very intertwined. They're very, most of the relationships are incredibly disrespectful. They're manipulation. There's a lot of blame, things like that going on. There's that human shit in there, so we kind of stay away from that, and we get into partnerships, and we get into evolving our partnerships with our community and with different people, and we kind of move beyond friends. Friends is a kind of shallow thing. You know, how many times in human realities did you say, oh yeah, that's my friend? It was someone you didn't even know. But because you needed a label, and, you know, they were probably a little bit more than someone you just met once, but really not someone you knew very well, I was like, yeah, that's my friend. But it doesn't, you know, it really didn't mean anything. You know, none of it really meant anything. It's just like, well, I'll just call it that because I don't know what else to call it. You know, we're just going to call it my friend. You'll find you stop doing that when you get into higher consciousness aspects and when you start living from those aspects and creating and evolving your reality. So yes, those human realities do go away. You're going to look back maybe, you know, 5, 6, 7 years into your ascension process and realize a lot of them have gone away. A lot of those relationships have gone away. A lot of the ways you started are not where you are now. I'm not saying every relationship can't be evolved, but that's got to be a two-way street. You know, that's got to be a two-way street to evolve a relationship into a higher consciousness relationship. And if anyone is still playing in their ego or their human aspect, it can't be done in that timeline, in that moment, because it has to be two people who have evolved enough within their own consciousness and their own body to be able to understand what that means. Anyone can sign up and go, yeah, that sounds fine. But to live that, that's where it all starts to, that's where you start to see a lot of these stuff start to fall apart. But we will convince ourselves for a long time that we can keep everything. We can take it all and make it work. And I never think people who put up that content it's not misleading. They just haven't figured that part out yet. It's not that they're trying to mislead you. It's just they're still trying to do that. And to some, they will have some success in that. Not because so much the situation has improved. Their attachment to the situations that they're trying to align have diminished. And they start seeing the beauty in other things in their relationship. So the issues within it, all of a sudden, either they're going to get exasperated and we just say that that's done no more. Or if it was littler things, we see that it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme and there are other purposes for me to be here. So I can make this reality work. I'm just maybe in it for a different reason now, in a sense. I'm in it for more soul-aligned reasons. I'm not in it for my human stuff anymore. So all the human stuff that wasn't working, I don't so much care about that anymore. So you'll find a lot of these things start to kind of fade away. They're able to kind of evolve into something else. So we are the ones that have to evolve our realities. Yeah, these are going to go away. I promise you they will go away. No matter how much you try to take higher consciousness and plug it in and make any of this shit work, all these human design realities, they will go away. And the more they go away, you're faced with, okay, well, what do I do now? Now I've got to evolve it. We are the ones that have to evolve our reality into something else. We have to decide, what are we going to do now? What do we want to do? What do we want to create? Because you're going to find you're going to have a real spotlight on creating things. You're not going to want to just do what you did as a human. The stuff you used to do as a human to pass time is not going to be of interest to you anymore. You're just not going to care about that stuff. You want to go on to the next thing. You're going to want to go on to doing something else. You're going to want to go on to creating something, making something beautiful for humanity. You're going to understand that you have a role to play in the evolution of consciousness for humanity. It's not just, I'm just here for no reason, and I want to make a mark. I want to do something bold. And we have to look at kind of what can we do. And a lot of times in the beginning, we just do small stuff because we don't really understand that that's the most important thing we can do. It's the daily interactions that are more important than the global interactions. Because the daily, and if you can't connect with one person, we don't need to worry about connecting with 100,000 people. Who cares? If you can't connect with one, don't worry about everybody else. So we kind of shrink everything down and we start really focusing on just our individual relationships, our communities, sometimes maybe just our block. We might just start with just our block and really start to focus in on that and focus in on making sure that we share what we have and we really care. Because in our human aspects, we say we care, but we really don't care. We really don't care. We say we care, we don't care. Human aspect has no capacity to care for anything but itself. That's it. That's all it has. It has no other capacity than that. It's self-focused, it's self-absorbed, and that's what it is. So we have to learn to evolve beyond that and to see when we're doing that still. We still might be holding on to our money because I don't want to share that, or I'm holding on to this because I don't really want to share that, or even though, I've seen people take things that other people could really utilize and they don't use them and don't need them, but they'll just keep them so someone else can't have them. That is the epitome of the human aspect. That is the epitome of letting the human aspect rule. It is just, and it sounds horrific sometimes when you say it and you see it and you're like, oh my gosh. But, I know I can remember when I probably did something very similar, or someone else did something very similar. And you could even get to where we did it with people, or you might have been that interested in the person you were with, but I really don't want anyone else to have him, so I guess I'll keep him around. But I'm really not that into this relationship. We've all done that. We've all done those types of things. So we don't judge the people doing them. That's just where they are. That's just the aspect they are still currently utilizing to make their choices for them. They're still creating karma to clear later. They haven't got to their spot where it's time for them to ascend yet. It's just not their time yet. So we see all these things. And sometimes it can be outrageous when we see it. And we're like, God, you get to a point where you just get so frustrated with, the human race in general, that you kind of have to, you have to kind of rein yourself back in and understand, like, okay, but boy, we are pretty awful. We are so awful. I can't believe that we don't see how awful we are and how damaging we are in a sense to the planet. But we just kind of keep rolling with it. And there comes times when sometimes we might be forced to take a stand on certain things, forced to take a stand on what might seem like small issues, and it would seem like it's a small issue. Like I had a thing in the neighborhood where there's the younger kids. They had some type of BB gun, pellet gun, and they're going around and they're in the backyard, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "We're shooting squirrels," and I'm like, "No, not in this yard. We're not shooting squirrels here." and as soon as I said no, 4 or 5 other people in the neighborhood also were like, yeah, we're not going to let them do it either, but they didn't really want to tell the children that, so they're posting like signs on their door saying, we don't want you to shoot over here either. So sometimes it can be just one person standing up and saying, no, that's not a kind act, and we're not doing that here. And we just move forward from there. And you'll be surprised how many other people might see that and be like, yeah, I want to say no too, but they still might not be in the space to say that, to say the words, you know, and be able to say the words with respect, and just to make them understand why, you know, that's not a kind act, and I can't, you know, this is my reality, and my reality, non-kind acts are not taking place, you know, that's not how my reality is constructed. But there's lots of other things going on, and you'll know that this is not. These are children that they don't understand exactly how karma works yet. They're not in that part of they're not in that part of their ascension process. They're living out what they're living out right now. But there will be a time when that karma is going to come back, when it comes back for all of us, and we start to understand that we're kind of at this melding point with all our realities across time and space. Every karma we've ever created, we're clearing in this reality right here. So that's why it can feel immense for us that are in those processes and in those stages of our ascension process to clear it, till we realize we've cleared it and we're not creating anymore. Because we don't see how that all links up. It seems like a kind of something some children would go out and do because they're bored, but you can see all the karmic things that are going to tie into that later on. So sometimes we always have to be the one that evolves our reality forward, whatever we see to do. But if we're not doing anything, we're technically not evolving anything. And when I say these other realities will go by the wayside, your human realities will fade away. Will some of them, you know, shift and change and still kind of be the same, but the energetics will start to change? Yes. You will have years where that happens, where you can sort of shift it. But unless everyone in the reality is like, yeah, this is going to work out, you'll start to see the imbalances, and you just grow past it. And you have to look at every human reality. Once it starts to fade away, you've just grown past it now. You can't take part in them anymore. You're not really allowed to. And the good news is you have no interest to. There will be some that are harder than others, especially when the first couple ones start going. And you don't know what comes next, and you might not like what comes next. A lot of this journey is not what we thought it was going to be. We're faced with doing a lot of things we don't want to do because we have judgment about what we have to go do, or judgment about how other people are going to judge what we're about to go do. And judgment is one of the last things we have to clear, because we can't be judged if we don't hold judgment ourselves. It's just other people speaking the fear back to us. That's really all that is. So we have to kind of be able to look past all that. Okay, how do I really feel about this? How do I really feel about that? What do I want to set up next? What do I want to evolve my reality into? If I want to, you know, start doing a podcast with a group of people, okay, let me start evolving my reality to that. There are some things where we can call certain things in, call in the opportunities, but when we see things we're supposed to do, we have to be able to go and do those things, and to not be afraid to take these baby steps to start anchoring in these realities. We're the ones that evolve them. If we're waiting for somebody else to evolve a reality, we'll be waiting a very long time. Your universe will show you. No one else is going to evolve it but you. You're the one that has to evolve it forward, because all your other ones are going to go away. And we can sit there and mourn those, and I will make a caveat and say we do have to grieve them if we feel we have to grieve them, if we feel it's appropriate. Because our human does need to grieve. If we feel like that's reality, we want to grieve. Sometimes by the time we get to the end of it and it fades away, we've already grieved it, and we just have nothing else left for it. But sometimes we feel like we need to be able to give ourselves to do that. The human does need to grieve. And there's nothing wrong with grieving a reality. The issue is we keep holding on to it. Even if the reality's gone, we'll hold on to it in the story of telling about it again and again and again and again and again. The reality could be 30 years gone, but we're still rehashing it in a story. We still have, because we haven't resolved it. Just because the physical reality went away, the energetics of the reality are still playing out, because we never resolved the energy we had around the reality. We never resolved it. So we just keep playing it out again and again and again. Our human realities are on repeat. It's the same show every season. We just might get a couple of new cast members, and here we go again. We just keep teeing things up and teeing things up and teeing things up. And that's really all we do. And we just do it again and again and again and again and again. So we have to be the ones that maybe do the opposite. You know, what would my human do? Let me do the opposite. Like sometimes even the opposite is still a human reaction in a sense, but it's different enough to shake up the reality and sometimes break the loop. You know, it's enough to kind of break things apart. It's enough to, you know, take a reality and kind of turn it upside down. To not really believe what we see anymore and understand that everything we're seeing is just an illusion anyway, and how we interpret it is an illusion. And it's funny because I had a story I was going to tell regarding that, and it's kind of circling around me, but I can't seem to remember now. You know, oh, I know. I was watching, actually watched this movie a long time ago, but I saw somebody reviewing it again, so I actually watched it when I was getting ready. And it was Thor: Love and Thunder. And there was a part in there where he was pretty jealous that, you know, his hammer was now with Jane Foster. And he felt, you know, some kind of way about it. You know, he felt bad about it. He felt left out. He felt like he'd been chosen over something else. He didn't remember that he had told the hammer so many years earlier to take care of her. You know, he didn't remember that part because he was so into the emotions of it not being with him anymore that he forgot that he was what set that in motion. And you're going to find a lot of realities we've set, all of our realities we've set in motion a long time ago, way before we incarnated here. All these realities were set in motion. And we just don't remember until you reach a certain place in your consciousness setting those things in motion. You don't remember asking that person to come in and do that. You don't remember saying that you were going to leave this person, and maybe not in the best way, because that was what you were supposed to do. You know, we don't remember that until we get to certain parts of our ascension where we're able to remember all those things we agreed to do and kind of rewrite the history of everything. Whereas in one storyline, he felt kind of left behind and left out and not worthy. But what was really going on underneath was something completely different. And that was just sort of what goes on all the time with us. You know, we only are seeing, in our human consciousness, we only see the surface. You know, only the emotions that get triggered. Only the story we put around those emotions. I mean, none of that shit's even true. We just have created the whole story around it. One, for us to start to clear the emotion. And two, because it's so ingrained in our body that, yeah, that's what had happened. Yeah, that's how it happened. I mean, how many people in your reality will say, no, it's got to be this way. This is the only way. This is how it has to be. You see everybody's limit. You see everybody's limit on what they're able to deal with. You know, you'll see a lot of people who are totally on board with, you know, the books on The Secret. It's totally on board with Reiki, you know, acupuncture, all this stuff that, you know, the energy and manifesting and Goddard, and I'm trying to think of, you know, that just was one came to mind. But all these other books that talk about the power of thought, and people are not either okay with that. You jump over to soul embodiment and ascension, and okay, now you're pushing people's limits. You know, you're pushing them out of a comfort zone. You're pushing them into, now things are going to have to change. It's not going to be, let me take all these things and improve my human life. Because that's not what those things are supposed to do. They're supposed to raise your vibration, pull you out of your human life, not double down and double you down on it. But that's what a lot of the tools are kind of used for. That's how a lot of this stuff starts to flip and merge. And you start to be able to see that. And you start to be able to see how, you know, look at where our limits are. Look at what you're like, yeah, I'm okay here, but when you push me to here, I'm not. Now it's woo-woo. You know, now you see the same thing in the galactic conversation. You know, people are okay with, they don't call them UFOs anymore. What do they call them? Unidentified. It's not unidentified. It's unidentified aerial phenomenon. That's what they call them because they don't want to say UFO. Now they want to say what's that? UAP. That's what they call them now. It's UAP. It's not UFO anymore. That's okay. I can be on board with that. But don't show me a picture of an alien being interviewed, because now I'm out again, because that's too much. It's pushing me too much past my comfort zone, too much past my limited belief, too much past, you know, where I feel comfortable. You know, I could say, yeah, you know, Earth is a galactic prison. We're all here to work off our galactic debt. Now, a lot of that pushes people too much to their limits. You know, it pushes them too far. So look at where you feel like you gotta get pushed too far. Where other people, you can see like they're okay here, but we go here and now it's too far. Because we have to evolve our realities. We have to find a way to meet people and kind of bridge that gap and know when it's too much for them. Know when it's going to push them too far. Sometimes we might push them a little bit too far to stretch their mind. And sometimes we have to read the room. You know, we have to be able to read the room and say, okay, what is going to push them too far? What is going to get them in the conversation? Because getting them in the conversation in the beginning, that's what you want to do. You know, getting them in the conversation, talk about this stuff. You know, dreams was one of the easiest ways I could get people in a conversation because everybody dreams and everyone's curious about it. It's an easy way to get someone into a conversation about energy, you know, creating your reality, ascension. What are we looking at in our dream space? We're looking at ourselves multidimensionally. What are we learning? What are we choosing? It's a good way to open people up because everyone's kind of there, you know, and no matter who it was, it didn't matter. You would be surprised at people that would sit down and want to talk about their dreams. I mean, it could look like one of Hell's Angels, and it didn't matter. You know, it was that common ground everybody had. So we throw all that other stuff out the window. It could be the roughest, toughest, you know, dude you've ever seen, and he's like, oh God, I got this dream I want to talk about because it is a common ground. You know, it is that common space. It doesn't push too far. So when we're trying to evolve our realities and bring other people into the conversation, look at what might push them too far. You choose a different word? Now we don't want to placate down to a different consciousness, but can we choose a different word? Can we bridge it a different way? You know, how can we take something and open more people up instead of getting people to shut down immediately? Because the ego will shut down immediately when it feels threatened. You know, that's just what it does. So, all right, I will open up my chat. Okay. All right, we don't have any questions. So if I don't have any questions, I think we're going to end today. My voice held up pretty good, but I do want to be able to do more stuff this week. So I think that's a pretty good overview on evolving our realities. And if we're in that space where we're trying to make things work that just are not working, and we get this thing that we're doing it wrong. I used to think that. It's like, how am I doing it wrong? You know, I'm in this consciousness group and I see everybody else talking about rainbows and you know, all this stuff. And I'm sitting here, which felt like I'm in complete utter hell because so much stuff's coming up. I'm clearing so much stuff. My whole world's collapsing around me. And everyone else looked like they're in bliss and magic. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do wrong? Like, I've obviously done something wrong here because this is not how this looks for anybody else. What you don't see, what I didn't see at the time was, yeah, that's how it looks for everybody else in different phases they're in. And they might not be in that phase yet. And it was funny because when I posted some of this on that platform, and I could tell by some of the responses I got back that a lot of them were just not in that place yet. And they couldn't really comprehend it because I could tell by the response, you've never been there. And you could tell the people who had been there and their response, because there was not that everyone else wasn't trying to be authentic, but it's hard to really connect to someone in a certain space when you've never been in that space. That's why ascension is such a personal thing. It's hard to connect with someone on their ascension process unless you're going through your ascension process. That's why so many people had to be out earlier than others so they could connect on where other people were. Some people are here, some people are there, and people need to be able to bridge that gap. So there had to be somebody kind of working in every space of where people were. So, all right, that's it for me. All right, I'll see everybody next time. Bye.